Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
That is right. It's been a long time coming. We've all been waiting patiently, but we are back. And this is the very first episode of the official Lucha Underground After Show right here on AfterBuzz TV. You guys have been asking for it. Hell, we've been asking for it. Producer Mark, you're a beautiful person. You made it happen.
You're more beautiful.
You're amazing. But we're right here for the entirety of Season 2 up until what I imagine will be Ultima Lucha 2. We will be here recapping every single episode of Lucha Underground for your benefit. If you like what we're doing, tweet us, go to YouTube, leave a comment. If you're listening on iTunes, if you're nasty, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. We want to hear from you. My name is Ty Matthews. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. And who are these lovely and talented co-hosts next to me? Guys, tell them who you are.
I'm James Franck. Follow me on Twitter at TheJimboSlice. That's TheJimboSlice with my sweet Vampiro shirt.
Absolutely.
Old school.
And a fantastic filmmaker as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm Jared Gilkerson. That's at Gilkerson Radio on Twitter, or you might know me as Comatose.
Yes.
It's your dead time from the old Extreme Trampoline Wrestling days.
On the
I'm
back,
excited.
It's his catchphrase is on the back.
Yeah.
It's your dead time.
That's right.
Might be my favorite catchphrase in all of wrestling. And that's a sick shirt.
That's a shout out to my man Jeff, Rock Hard Jeff McDaniel.
I'm digging it.
Yeah, he made a ton of shirts.
Well, guys, it's here. Finally.
Yes.
Season 2, we've been waiting a long time. Obviously, so much happened in the 37 episodes of Season 1. We can't cover all of it, but just to recap a little, here's where we left off. Darkness is running the place. We got Mil Muertes as the new Lucha Underground champion, beating Prince Puma. Not only that, we've got the Disciples of Death as the Trios champions. I mean, they're basically running the place. Dario Cueto and Black Lotus have to skip town with Matanza in tow. I mean, what else? We've got Phoenix is the new Gift of the Gods champion. He's being hunted by King Cuerno in some dope vehicles. I mean, just like King Cuerno is driving a truck that's like, it fits him almost as well as his gaucho getup, and we'll get to that later. What else? I mean, Vampiro is the Pentagon Jr.'s Dark Master. I mean, so much happened in Season 1. Please, guys.
You can't forget about my favorite character, Dario.
Oh, Dario Cueto, the proprietor of Lucha Underground, Dario Cueto, with that ever-present key around his neck. I mean, if you weren't watching Season 1, first of all, you're screwing up. Second of all, go on YouTube, find every episode, find a recap, all that stuff. Come right back. We'll be here. But let's get to Season 2, Episode 1, A Much Darker Place. We've got Vampiro, or Ian Hodgkinson, in the Yusef Floro Clinic, the psychotic break division. And he's, it's his graduation day. It's time for him to get out of this place finally. He's telling them everything they want to hear. Oh, yeah, no more violent thoughts, no more psychotic breaks, no more hallucinations, blah, blah, blah. We know that's kind of BS.
And it flashes back as he's like, no, and it flashes to his match with Pentagon as he breaks the light tubes.
Exactly.
Over his head.
We're
and
flashing
it's shot
back.
very film-esque,
right.
not like your typical
Rodriguez.
back. Yeah, oh,
Sure.
so amazing.
And that's one of the things that I think we love about the show is that the cutscenes, to use video game terminology, I mean, they're shot so cinematically.
Yeah.
We were talking about before we went live, it's not like it's just some guy has a camera, backstage. These are short films. It's not a wrestling show, it's a show about a wrestling show. And so it's fantastically done, and the cinematography is great. Now, my question is this saying, do we think that they're treating his presence as Pentagon's Dark Master as a hallucination?
I don't
That's a good question.
think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so, because he even has that flash of like how he wants to react to it.
Right, exactly.
Where he takes everyone out and then he like bites the guy's neck and he's like bleeding from his mouth.
Right.
And it's just like, oh man, and then he zones back in and he's like, no, I'm fine, I'm ready to be released.
Right. So how do we think he ended up there? How do we think he went from, because, you know, Vampiro and Pentagon Jr. were on the road together, like the most twisted version of Doc and Marty. Mm-hmm. And Vampiro said they were going to a very, very dark place, and then cut to 6 months later, and Vampiro is institutionalized. So I'm curious to see how that happened.
That's very interesting.
I bet he killed. I'm saying he killed someone.
Gotta be,
in
right?
the desert.
Lit him up like a Human Torch, like the match with Sting, right?
Yeah.
In a graveyard.
That whole opening scene, and I'm a baby to this.
Right.
You know, I come from the traditional world of wrestling, and
Sure.
then I turn this on. And I immediately I just think, okay, how much does Robert Rodriguez like have his like hands all over this? Like I don't know how much involved, because it's his network.
I mean,
he's a producer on it.
He's an executive producer, but he doesn't really have that much involvement.
Oh man, that had like almost like John Carpenter,
but
like
it feels
like that southern, almost like that soundtrack. Even like the soundtrack, like pulled me right in.
Right.
You know, I forgot, because it was like a 7-minute open.
Sure.
That I was even like, oh yeah, there's gonna be some matches tonight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get so wrapped up in the story, you forget that there's also awesome wrestling.
Yeah,
to
like
be
wow,
had.
Matt Striker looks so cool next to that car.
Exactly. That car was dope. That car was like straight out of
The
Twisted
rims on
Metal.
that car? Oh,
spikes
man.
on the rims.
That was the Entourage car.
Yeah, it was so
Wasn't that where's Turtle? That'd be great. Like Turtle just like in the car for no reason.
So in this analogy, I think Matt Striker would be Turtle. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Matt Striker's Turtle.
Yeah.
Is Vampiro...
Vampiro was like that cousin they had that they didn't want to be
Vampiro's
around.
like Drama?
That guy. No, not Drama. Who was the cousin that from one season he came around, he was bald, had the pinhead, and they wanted him gone? Like, that's so Vampiro.
That's 100% Vampiro. Johnny Mundo's got to be Vinny Chase. We got this all.
Who's E? You gotta find who's E. Like,
Who's
like a
E?
smaller stature
maybe,
man.
Maybe Matt Striker would be E. Matt Striker would be E.
Yeah.
Who's
Pizza
Turtle?
Boy.
I mean, Taz isn't a part of the show, but he'd be Turtle.
Willie Mack.
This is so good.
The Mac, there we go.
Entourage meets Lucha Underground.
Exactly. But you know, Vampiro tells them all what they want to hear. Finally gets out. They say, "Hey, you got anyone to pick you
anyone
up?"
to come pick you up?
Matt
In the
Striker
middle of
shows
the
up
desert.
in that whip, that dope whip.
No building in sight.
And he says, they've gotten, right?
Just
Just
in the
completely
middle of the desert.
deserted, just nothing. But I guess I feel like, and I'm just like fantasy booking, but like the Yusuf Floro Clinic is like this like Weapon X facility, and so they took Vampiro out there in the middle of nowhere.
What if it was all in Vampiro's head?
That's what
Everything.
I'm saying.
Like, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
So the whole show's gonna be like Dallas. I know I'm dating everything, but the whole show, like they're gonna do 10 seasons of Lucha Underground, and it's gonna be like,
Exactly.
listen, this is all a dream. None of this exists.
Right.
It's gonna be Dario in a hospital chair, just like staring off in the wall.
That would be great.
It's all in a snow globe.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that
That was
Identity?
Saint Elsewhere, I think. But Matt Striker warns Vampiro that it's a much darker place
place
obviously
now.
with
Mil
Mil Muertes, with the Disciples of Death. We find out that Katrina has even taken over Dario Cueto's office, and she is now the proprietor of the temple.
I have a quick question before we dive right in.
Yeah.
Now, because you mentioned like the insane asylum being some, and I missed chunks of season 1.
Okay.
Do they ever have matches anywhere else but the temple?
No,
They haven't
it
had
would be cool
matches,
to
but
treat
they've
it.
had lots of like
I mean,
backstage
obviously a lot of
stuff
segments,
like
stuff like that. But no,
trainings,
everything match-wise happens inside the
See,
temple.
I think it'd be cool to treat it almost like Mortal Kombat,
Sure.
where there's matches like in the woods.
Well, and
like,
we
so
will-
they gotta jump around the levels.
We will get to the Mortal Kombat comparisons later,
All right.
but like they do. I mean, you could almost treat those cutscenes as if they're separate fights. They have fights in the bathroom, and Cage is getting attacked by people in junkyards or whatever. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
But we see Katrina and Phoenix, the Gift of the Gods champion, and Phoenix is Mil Muertes' blood rival. Mil Muertes is 1,000 deaths, and Phoenix is 1,000 rebirths, and so they're yin and yang. They're polar opposites. So he wants a chance at that title. He's got the Gift of the Gods championship, but Katrina exercises her right as proprietor to make him wait, and she has him defend the Gift of the Gods title against King Cuerno. Says King Cuerno's been hunting him for months. And that's I love this. I love Katrina's character, and I love that like there's obviously something otherworldly and supernatural,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just her.
Well, she can. What's her power?
We saw later on she can straight up teleport.
Yeah.
Like she encounters King Cuerno later and boom, just vanishes. So we get the very first match of season 2, Phoenix defending his Gift of the Gods championship against King Cuerno.
Do you want to explain the Gift of the Gods championship scenario?
For those uninitiated, for those new believers joining us, the Gift of the Gods championship is you were talking earlier. It's like the WMAC Masters belt.
Yeah,
and
you earn your coins.
There's different medallions that make up the belt, representing each of the different Aztec tribes. 7 people fight for those medallions, and once those are all collected, those are all grafted onto this belt and wrestled over by those 7 people. The winner gets the Gift of the Gods belt, which is it essentially functions as a guaranteed title shot, but if it's not used, it must be defended.
Which is awesome.
Right.
Oh.
And that's
so cool.
That's what sets it apart, obviously from other similar concepts, and that it can't just be hoarded for, a year or months and months and months. If you're not going to use it, you have to defend it.
And whoever you defend it against has the chance to then dethrone you and be the next number 1 contender.
Exactly.
But that was her workaround. Like, she was like, because she's twisting the rules. Because he wanted to use it.
That's where I was a little bit unclear, because she says it's her right as proprietor to make him wait. She says you can have your title shot if you still have the Gift of the Gods championship next week.
Okay.
And so she's operating within the rules, making him defend it against King Cuerno. But yeah, it's a fantastic concept. It's literally use it or lose it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it?
Possibly.
That's what's true with the Gift of the Gods championship. But what a match to kick off season 2. I mean, these are 2 of the most reliable wrestlers on this show. There's something about the temple where every single strike sounds so incredible.
I was wondering if those chops were sound effects added in later,
No,
because they were bad.
Right.
They were
terrible.
bad.
I mean, those chops.
Between the chops, between the super kicks, I mean, the one thing that we've got to touch on is King Cuerno's arrow from the depths of hell.
Yeah.
That tope suicida that he hits.
I love how there's concrete steps too. I mean, there's not a lot of buffer outside the apron, so I mean, it's great. How many times did we see wrestlers of this whole show hit those steps? I mean, almost a handful of times.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. It's great because they're getting hurt. This is some serious shit. It looks great on TV.
The match opens with slide drop, baseball slide drop kick, catch your feet, spin you around, DDT to the floor. That was the first move.
And just straight up and down vertical plant on that
psychology?
DDT as well. Yeah, exactly. But it's so. What I love about that dive in particular is that with just a simple, and I mean, I say simple, but it's with just a straight up suicide dive, with the distance and the velocity that he gets, he manages to make it just as impressive, if not more so, as some of the more spectacular dives that we've seen.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's sharp.
Right.
It's real sharp. I mean, that's why it's impressive, because there's not a lot of room out there, but it just doesn't matter. I mean, you feel like you're in an underground, it feels like The Quest, Jean-Claude Van Damme's The Quest.
Yeah.
And it just feels like you shouldn't, we shouldn't be here.
Right.
I don't know what you guys think of this, the sky cam element. I think
I do.
It
I
looks
think
sharp.
Cool.
It looks sharp.
It adds a cool effect, and it shows you the temple symbol in the middle of the
Exactly.
ring.
I love that aspect.
I love how there's several different entranceways.
Yeah.
You could come
I
down
didn't
the
even notice
steps.
that.
Like people will come down the stairs, or they'll come out, or where Mill's lair is, Dark Olympus is what they're calling it now. That used to be where the band was season 1.
That's right. That's right.
But now there's no band there. So that's
and
his
it's
lair.
and yeah, we talked a little bit about the Mortal Kombat comparisons.
Yeah.
That emblem is basically the dragon symbol for
heck
them.
yeah.
Not only that, we've got Mil Muertes, who is obviously the Lucha Underground champion,
Shao Kahn.
watching the proceedings, just like Shao Kahn, or even just like Shang Tsung in the very first game. I mean, he's on a throne made of skulls. It's so silly, even for pro wrestling.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Especially want to know what you think of Mil Muertes being new to all this.
Well, I mean, I thought that was one of the coolest aspects of the show, because I'm coming in and I just see this guy just presiding over all the matches. I'm like, this is so cool. Imagine if I mean, I couldn't imagine a wrestling show where the champ just has to stand there and watch you the whole time.
Right.
I didn't know his history yet. I did some research. I didn't know he was pretty much undead, zombie-ish character, but. I get a kick out of it to break away, but I get a kick out of his tattoo because it looks like it's like for like a kid.
Oh, right,
like
right.
when his kid was born, and it's like like 2012, like my kid was born. Like, but no, cool character. I love just like it's that presence of evil throughout the entire broadcast. Like something might go down because he's there the entire time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
And one of the elements of Mil Muertes that they touched on a lot in season 1 that I'm sure will return in season 2 is this omnipotence that he's constantly, even when he wasn't presiding over the action, you felt like he was always there, or at least Katrina, by proxy, was always somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, just awesome stuff. I mean, the match is incredible. Phoenix goes for a double jump 450 splash. Nothing but the mat.
He's the only guy that does the like split legs. Like one goes on one side of the rope, the other goes on the other, and then he'll spring up to the top and then does a springboard.
Right.
Like what?
It's nuts.
Like
yeah.
why do that? Like what?
Yeah.
I love how he hit it and then he jumped and did like an arm drag. I was just like, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got a lot of great false finishes in this match, but it's after that missed 450 that King Cuerno hits him. He hits him with a different finish. Earlier in the match, he hits the Thrill of the Hunt. Phoenix kicks out, and we get this brand new finisher that's just absolutely insane. We were talking about it earlier. We compared it to like Easy Money's Money in the Bank, Trent's, Dude Buster Crunchy, but with the guy turned around to the front.
Like a
So cool.
tombstone package pile driver.
Exactly. Exactly.
Insane.
I thought he was going to go for that. You've seen the submission before. I think Pentagon's done it where it's almost like a tombstone position, but he takes the guy's
your
legs
and
and
he
bends them
them.
backwards. Yeah, I thought that's what he was going for. Drops Phoenix on his head, and in the very first match of season 2, we see a new champion.
Yeah.
We see King Cuerno become the new Gift of the Gods champion.
How often did that happen in season 1? Did it flip flop a bunch?
No,
Not really.
It was
No,
weird,
not
'cause,
at
like,
all.
Prince Puma got the title. They didn't crown a
Well, they
champion in the
didn't-
first episode, but
they-
it was
they
like
didn't-
midway through the first season.
Right, exactly. And specifically with the Gift of the Gods championship, they didn't introduce that until real late in the
Yeah.
first season.
Yeah.
But even then, there were really not many title changes. No.
Yeah.
And there were 37 episodes in season 1. There's only been 2 champions. There's only been 2 trios champions, and now there's only been 2 Gift of the Gods champions.
It's so cool that I think they got in a whole new viewership because I was just I was watching SportsCenter and then there's just like a 5-minute piece on Lucha Underground,
Right.
And it was awesome. And I think they're going to pull in a whole new audience, and to have, title changing hands, some really cool cutscenes. Like, I think this was an explosive way to start season 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the advantage of this show is it'll catch the eye of someone who's not a wrestling fan and keep them involved.
Right.
Like, and this is something that you could get like younger viewers to watch. Like, I have a feeling like my buddy's kid who's not big into wrestling, but if I showed him this, he'd be like, "Oh, that guy looks cool." And there's enough of like the cinematic element that it'll keep you involved of like, oh man, what's gonna happen with this story and that guy and oh man, what is that guy gonna show up? That was another thing because like you saw Dragon and you saw Aerostar and like all these other characters in the intro that didn't appear in this episode.
Right.
But like when you see Dragon and his black tongue come out and then his wings come up and he like turns into flames and flies away,
Right.
You're like, can't wait to see what that guy does in the ring.
We've got a character that can turn into a legit dragon.
Yeah.
We've got Aerostar who can rocket up into space. I mean, these are legitimate comic book characters in the best way possible.
Whoever said the WMAC Masters reference nailed it.
That was Jimbo originally.
Jim,
Yeah.
100%. That is the perfect description of this show. It's a step beyond physicality and using something that we all know, pro wrestling and lucha, and just bringing it into the straight up creative space. And it's going to hit on so many different fronts.
Exactly. And just like in WMAC Masters, I mean, Hakeem Alston was a legitimate machine.
Yeah, he
it's
was.
the exact same thing with this now.
Yeah.
But so it's awesome stuff. Obviously, we're just gonna. Sorry, I mean, we're just gonna keep gushing about this.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I really liked in that King Cuerno match was when he locked him in the surfboard, pulled him back into the Dragon Sleeper,
Right.
and then he like pushed him off right into the
Right into the
turnbuckle.
buckle.
I was
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Damn, that was a cool move.
See, it's those little things. It's those little things that make things so different. Just like the velocity of that dive. I mean, I've been a pro wrestler for over 15 years now, and I could not imagine catching someone that's coming that fast and that hard at you on the outside of the ring.
Yeah, that's insane. I had a question.
Yeah.
we've all been watching for years, and you've been wrestling for years, but. Okay, so the breathability of a match, you know, I've been like programmed that a match breathes a little bit. You know, like there's a lot of storytelling in the ring.
Sure.
But is it typical for Lucha to be like move? Like I mean, it's all. I'm not saying they're not selling.
Sure.
But it's in some part of your brain, you kind of go, well, where's the sell? And so you got the is it like a fantasy world? Is that kind of where we're going here?
I mean, a little bit. There's a little bit. There are obviously still stories being told, and there's still psychology that's inherent to the match, but there is slightly less of an emphasis being placed on selling a body part or on working a body part. You know, it's much more of a fast pace.
Okay.
It's, you know, if it's like the action movie of pro wrestling basically.
Perfect.
So there's still a story, but there's going to be a lot more explosions.
Yeah, I'm in.
So yeah, we've got a brand new Gift of the Gods champion. We've got the former Trios champions, Angelico, Son of Havoc, and Ivelisse returning to the temple. They want a shot at the Trios titles, which are held by the Disciples of Death. But Katrina says that Mill wants something a little bit different. He wants the three of them to face each other. And at first they say, you know what? No, we're not going to play that game. We fought each other all season 1. We're not going to do it again.
We just got on the same page.
Exactly. We just barely. Just now, right before we got
We just rode our bikes here together. Friends.
Finally, the first time. But Katrina sweetens the pot. She says whoever wins that triple threat match can have a shot against Mil Muertes immediately that night.
What did you think was going to happen? Like, when that was set up, did you have any, like, what did you guys...
I certainly didn't think that it was going to be for an immediate title shot that night.
Yeah.
And that's something that's such an interesting concept to me, is that they have this number one contender, you know, match, and they're not going to spend weeks with the number one contender and the champion like making faces at each other and then like wrestling in tag matches and wrestling in triple threat matches
when they just crowned a new number one contender.
Exactly. And that's another thing that I love about the Gift of the Gods title, is that it essentially functions as a second number one contender. And so you've got, I mean, really kind of a three-way title picture, at least at all times. I mean,
something that's also we should note is girls wrestle guys here. It's not
Love
like
it.
And not even just that. We've got women, we've got men, we've got minis, we've got exoticos. You know, in season 1, we saw Masquerita Sagrada, we saw Pimpinela Escarlata, we saw all of these people. Yeah, we saw all of these people being treated as equals. And it's insane, because any one person can beat any other person, and they don't look any weaker for it, no matter who they are. Sexy Star made 2 guys tap out twice in a row at the end of season 1, and all it did was just make her look competitive, and all it did was just make her look like she was the better wrestler that night.
Yeah.
And it's such a fresh concept.
It's great, because when we were kids, it was always, you know, the damsel in distress.
Sure.
And then it became a little equal in the wrestling world, for not equal but close,
right,
for a little while,
right,
and then it's reverted, you know, in these, you know, these other fashions, it's reverted a little bit, and I think that's just bad for where we're at as a culture. And then and I told you earlier when we were talking outside that I didn't even hear when they said you're going to battle for the title. I'm thinking, okay, the 2 guys are, and she's going to come out,
right.
And it didn't even click in my head that they said that
it was a triple threat match.
Yeah, what do they call it? They don't call it triple threat.
I think they just called it a 3-way match.
A 3-way match.
Yeah.
So I didn't even click, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna fight. This is gonna be badass. Because you just had a feeling like, okay, she's gonna blend in. And it's gonna be great, and she went beyond that.
Right.
She kicked ass.
Yeah, definitely. Before that match gets underway, we see Katrina and King Cuerno backstage, and we find out that Katrina has kind of struck a deal with King Cuerno. We're not sure exactly what the details are. We're not sure exactly the nature of this deal, but King Cuerno, you know, he reassures her that she and Mil Muertes have nothing to worry about. And so I'm interested, what do you guys think are the terms of this deal?
That he's not going to cash in right away, probably. He's going to wait, and maybe he'll do more bidding for her. Of like, who else does she need taken out of the temple? Right. So like Mil can
kind of being like Katrina's hired gun.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to jump the gun, because we'll discuss what happened at the end of the episode. I think that has a lot of bearing on what
definitely
he's going to do. But just from the conversation, I just feel like he's going to drop the ball. Like, I just feel like it's just going to, because when it all comes down to it, every wrestler is selfish, and I just feel like they're on the same terms now, but it's going to change, I think, quickly. Yeah, he's too powerful of a character to kind of go with the flow, and I think be kind of drug around by someone else.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting seeing kind of the interconnections and the relationships between these competitors, because with the context of season 1, I know you are new to this, but Phoenix is ostensibly kind of the one that has Mil Muertes' number. You know, they had a match during the first season, Grave Consequences, where it was like a casket match, but with so much more pageantry. It was a Dia de los Muertos casket match, basically. And, you know, Phoenix is the only one that has Mil Muertes' number. So I think while he was the Gift of God's champion, you know, Katrina and Mil are shook up. And so King Cuerno, who's been hunting Phoenix from day one, he's kind of the one that in turn has Phoenix's number. And so they hire him to basically, I think they just want that Gift of the Gods title on anyone but Phoenix.
I have an idea.
What's that?
So check it out. You just named it. So Phoenix, much like tonight that we saw with Ivelisse, earns a #1 contendership match. And since we haven't seen really a use of the Gift of the Gods that much, the rules are still kind of gray. So what if King Cuerno comes out during that during that title match that Phoenix goes against Mil Muertes
Makes it
and
a three.
makes it a 3-way and keeps Phoenix off of Mil Muertes?
Well, I don't think Phoenix has that title match anymore.
No, but if, let's say, in the future.
Okay.
Like a situation like tonight.
If
where it was
he does hypothetically earn one. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Either way, it would be King Cuerno utilizing it to make a 3-way match to keep a threat away from Mil Muertes.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, I dig that a lot.
Finger poke of doom.
Right, exactly.
Literally, finger poke of death. Mil Muertes.
If there's anywhere where it would literally be of death, it would be Lucha Underground.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
But we see this triple threat match, and it's just once again
so
off the
good,
charts.
man.
I mean, that flying knee that Angelico hits in the corner
Yeah.
where he
Oh,
accidentally
man.
hits Ivelisse.
Yeah, that was solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he put his knee through her face.
I think he just wanted his knee up high enough so he could check out his own
I love
ass.
how like he hit that and then he hit like 2 more knees, and Matt Stryker on commentary is like, well, if you've never seen Angelico, he likes to use knees.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh,
And
man.
Angelico's one of these guys that before season 1 of Lucha Underground, I had never even heard of him, never seen any of his stuff. From South Africa. You know, he reminds me once again, you know, like another South African, like PJ Black, like Justin Gabriel. You know, kind of wears that motocross getup and just takes incredible risks. We know about the dive from season 1. I was just showing you before we went live. And yeah, this match just had everything. It had the martial arts kicks from Ivelisse. It had the high flying from both Son of Havoc and Angelico.
Underwear.
It had underwear.
I want to hear what the listeners or the viewers think that Son of Havoc is wearing on his head, because it
Jared's
looks like a
convinced
pair of
it's
Huggies.
legitimately underwear.
Yeah, it does. It looks like underwear on his head. But I had a question. This is another newbie thing.
Sure.
Does someone in every match have to be masked?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Because it seemed like a theme. I was like, oh well, they got one, and like so I thought maybe someone in every match had to have a mask.
No, there's a handful. They've got, you know, Johnny Mundo. They've got Cage.
Well, I thought at one point though,
Willie?
in a match, if you're involved in a
have to
match,
have
No,
at least one
has there
mask.
ever been 2 unmasked
Yes.
competitors?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, I wasn't sure the rules. I'm getting new to it.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. But the vast majority of them
Okay.
have masks.
All right.
But yeah, just all sorts of stuff that we see in this match. And eventually what we see Son of Havoc going for that shooting star press off the top. Ivelisse crotches him, hits Angelico with a Magistral Cradle, and gets the 3 to become the #1 contender.
Couldn't believe
Yeah.
it.
I mean, did we think that the trigger was going to be pulled on Ivelisse being the #1 contender?
I was like, no way. They're not going to have a chick fight for the title in the first match. But that just shows like how different this company wants to be.
Right.
And show you like, look, girls can mix it up with the guys, and like she's going to be in the #1 contender spot for the match tonight.
Right.
Not in 3 weeks, and we're going to tease it, and she's going to get beat up, and then she's going to get her revenge.
Right.
And, like,
And
no, like tonight she just wrestled 2 dudes. Now she's got to wrestle our champ.
Yeah, exactly.
And I loved Matt Stryker had this line like, even broken crayons still color.
What is that
Right.
even?
I loved that line. That
He
was
is
so
the
good.
king of like obscure.
That was so good. Like, she might be damaged and hurt and down, and no one thinks she can win, but like she still has a chance.
She can still
has
get
a
the job
fighter's
done.
chance. And,
Yeah.
like, when he's like, even broken crayons still color, I was like, oh, I gotta
was
write that
waiting to
down.
use
That
it.
was so good.
Let's keep that in his back
He just
pocket.
knew. He's like, oh, I'm going to save this one. It's going to be
You think
so
he's
good.
on airplane flights just writing
Just writing
one-liners?
like what obscure aphorisms can I use on this show?
Yeah.
But I mean, and not only that, but we didn't get anyone clutching their pearls, going like, oh, like how is Mil Muertes gonna gonna hit a girl? I mean, it's a title match. He's gonna defend it. Ivelisse is gonna fight for it. And I mean, and it's not even just that like she's going for just any title against just anyone. This is the walking personification of death. His name is literally 1,000 Deaths.
Yeah.
And here's this Puerto Rican chick that's gonna try to throw kicks and submissions and take this title from him, and we believe it.
Yeah, it sucks you in, and she's moved to the top of my very short list. She's number one on my list right now.
Okay.
Just because I'm thoroughly impressed.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And I love her vibe too, because she's definitely the leader of that group.
Right.
So she's the alpha, and I like how in the open up the season they just prove like, yeah, she's the alpha of this entire group.
Right.
And she got a number one contendership match, and it's like kind of setting the stage, because I think if you have her lose, I mean, even if she's just competitive, I think she gets pushed back a little bit.
Right,
so I think
right.
her coming to the forefront right at the beginning, it like shows, okay, like she's around to stay as like a powerhouse in, the entire thing. So.
And that gives credibility to the other chicks like Sexy Star.
Right.
When they come out and they start wrestling guys where they're like, oh, well, Ivelisse can hang with the champ. Obviously, like, this chick's going to be no problem in the match with, like, King Cuerno.
Exactly.
Whatever,
And it establishes her credibility as a main event player. So after the triple threat number one contenders match, we've got basically the main event set up immediately. Mil Muertes is going to descend from Dark Olympus. He's going to defend the Lucha Underground title against Ivelisse. It's going to be great. But before that, we see what's going on with Dario Cueto and Black Lotus. Now, one thing I thought would be fun, I don't think this is going to ever come into play, but I thought this would be fun.
Bring it
So
up.
basically, we see that Black Lotus and Dario Cueto, they fled the temple, and they're 375 miles away from the temple. Now, we got a map. Is it up, Mark? We got a map.
Thank God.
Where could they be going?
Where in the world is Dario Cueto?
I thought that said Nambla.
Can we
for a
get
minute.
like that a cappella group from Carmen Sandiego to sing the
In
theme?
the world.
Rockapellas?
Yeah, the Rockapellas.
Matt Lauer.
That's what it was. That's the Rockapellas.
Any guesses?
We're playing Where in the World is Dario Cueto.
It's got to be a city or
I'm
a
thinking
decent city.
we see these three, the whitest of white guys looking for the temple. I'm thinking they might be around Phoenix. They could be in central Nevada or maybe southwestern Utah. Who knows?
I'm thinking, after looking at it, I'm gonna go with Central Nevada.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking Dario didn't stray too far. Probably hit up Vegas for a little while with his key and his honeys.
Right.
And then went a little north. He's like, let's go to the Bunny Ranch. And then he just stayed in town. I love it though. It just seemed like a small desert town.
Right.
I guess it could be any of those states.
Right.
But I don't think it's Utah.
Sure. Yeah. No. I can't imagine Dario
Sundance.
Cueto. I feel like Dario Cueto would burst into flames if he stepped into Utah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my guess.
So
somewhere in Nevada.
So Dario Cueto and Black Lotus are 375 miles away from the temple. Basically, they come across these three guys that are looking. They're looking for this underground fight club that they've been hearing so much about. And after kind of assessing them, Black Lotus, somewhat enigmatically, cryptically says, "Come with me." And we wonder just what the hell's happening.
Yeah.
And we'll see later on. But we have a main event championship match to get to. We've got Mil Muertes versus Ivelisse, and I mean they play with the size advantage and the power advantage, so much. But Matt Stryker, he made a good point where they're not talking about man versus woman. They're legitimately just talking about a bigger opponent versus a smaller opponent, a stronger opponent versus a not so strong opponent. It's just different strategies.
I think he said he said faster. He's like bigger, faster.
Right.
That's.
Right. Ivelisse she's got the submissions and she's got the kicks and she has to use those, and we see for so long that those strikes aren't doing a damn thing against Mil Muertes.
It's great. It's like and there you go. It's funny how wrestling does this. Like it's some shots don't look, but see, this was maybe my favorite. I think it was my favorite match of the night because this was like a true Mortal Kombat. What was it, like Garo? Wherever they got, what was the guy?
This was
Goro?
Shao Kahn versus Katana.
Like you have to play the perfect match.
Cheesin'.
Perfect match.
Uppercut.
Yeah, exactly.
And then swipe leg.
Just keep them in the corner and just throw it uppercuts.
Just spamming sweeps, leg sweeps over and over.
But it's like the energy level is not it's great. It's pure. That's a pure video game moment.
Sure.
Yeah, which is a lot of this.
Yeah, exactly.
He almost got a flawless victory.
Almost. She got like that much of his energy.
He hit 2 nasty backbreakers on her. Like,
Yeah, I did.
Like,
well, and that back, it called back to that triple threat match. At one point, Son of Havoc hits her with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and just nasty looking, and that sets up that she's got this weak back going into this title match, so she's at even more of a disadvantage.
I like how this had definitely more of an old school feel wrestling, more of a traditional wrestling feel to it.
Right.
How he was working the back. It had a little more. It was definitely David versus Goliath, which we're used to as fans, and so I liked it. Like it kind of it brings you back to like it was a great mixture of matches as a whole tonight. So it was cool.
Right.
Yeah, he went for. Did he go for the spear or?
He goes for the so near the end of the match he goes for a spear because Katrina steps into the ring.
Oh, yeah.
I think she senses that he's more on the ropes than they expected. And Ivelisse just right away grabs her by the throat because earlier on, when she's when the triple threat match is made, Ivelisse says, "Once I win that title, I'm coming for you." Yeah, and so she grabs Katrina by the throat. Mil Muertes charges up for this it would basically be like the Shao Kahn shadow shoulder. And Ivelisse moves out of the way, and he just steamrolls Katrina
out?
Right.
Oh gosh, that looked vicious.
Almost takes her right out of her bangs.
Yeah.
You can see her gripping her.
But that was right after Ivelisse hit. What did she hit? That was the huge.
She hit a tornado DDT.
Yeah, big tornado DDT.
After having his the arm was like an arm bar by the ropes.
Yeah,
that was really cool too. She was like,
bar.
"Okay, I'm gonna do as many submissions as I can."
Yeah,
that was the coolest move. I think the arm bar.
Right.
She does the arm bar on the ropes, and he just starts throwing knees to her back.
Oh my god,
that was great.
Knees, yeah.
It's like use anything.
Exactly.
And it's perfect. I don't need the choke though. I don't need the choke because it just doesn't look good. I think on
What,
TV.
the guillotine?
It doesn't look good.
Oh, okay.
Because it never looks when you have such a smaller opponent. It doesn't ever look locked in.
Right.
Not even close.
And he's got
over here.
such a huge neck.
She could pull it off on a smaller guy, but it just doesn't look good.
Exactly.
But the armbar looked great.
And so she's throwing chokes, she's throwing hanging arm bars, she's throwing triangle chokes, and those knees. I mean, just
to get her off.
The way her body was reacting to those, and the way it was kind of her hair and everything. I mean, it made it look that much more vicious,
Yeah.
And that's something that Mil Muertes he'll stop at nothing to keep that title, And I do love the concept of him almost kind of having to stay at this building. Because in season 1, Dario Cueto is sending invitations out to the best people in the world because he's greedy. And
Like the Quest.
Exactly, just like the Quest.
Back to the Quest.
Dario
Call
Cueto,
back.
he's this greedy Spanish promoter, and because he's from Spain, he doesn't respect the tradition or the culture of lucha libre. So that's already a lot of subtext there. Not only that, he's inviting people to this temple for his own amusement. He is Shao Kahn. He's Shang Tsung rather. If Mil Muertes is Shao Kahn, Dario Cueto Shang Tsung. That's what I'm saying, guys.
I love it.
And so he's inviting people for his amusement, but now, Mil Muertes is inviting people. I mean, kind of for his own amusement, but basically luring them to their deaths, pretty much. This is like his new death trap.
Yeah.
It's the pit.
It's
In
the pit.
chat, Eo Nizzle said it's a false temple, not a temple, but a sacrificial altar.
Ooh,
I like it.
That's 100%. That's why they have that seal in the ring.
Yep.
And the steps.
Yeah.
Those steps, just like Aztec steps, kick someone's head down
Yeah.
there. Where's Bale? Kick Bale's head down those steps?
That's gonna happen later this season. The head's gonna come in. Maybe Dario's just collecting heads and he's gonna throw them down the steps.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all he's
Someone's
doing.
going to get their heart ripped out.
Oh.
Guys, Lucha Underground's going to get real graphic, real dark, real quick. So finally, at the end of the match, we see a quick power slam followed by the flatliner for Mil Muertes to get the win and retain his championship. But right before Katrina is about to do the lick of death that everyone is waiting so eagerly for, she says, no, hit her again. He wants Mil Muertes to hit her with another flatliner. That brings out Prince Puma for the save, and we've got the rekindling of this rivalry. Mil Muertes won the title from Prince Puma, so it's built in.
Well, what's the difference from 100 deaths and 100 lives? I feel like we're gonna find out they have more in common.
Well, that's Phoenix.
Oh, my bad.
Phoenix is
I'm done.
no. Yeah, no. Phoenix is
So many.
He's 100 rebirths.
That's right.
1,000 rebirths.
That's right.
Mil Muertes
Rebirths.
is 1,000 deaths.
Isn't that like the same meaning?
Yeah,
by the way?
you know. But Prince Puma, he's the hometown boy.
Yeah,
he's
that's
from
right.
He's from
That's
Boyle
right.
Heights.
He's from Boyle
Right
Heights.
there.
Not Paducah,
Nobody's
Kentucky, but
nobody's
Boyle
from
Heights.
exactly. He's punching through punching bags.
Yeah.
So this brings out Prince Puma. He makes the save. Are you good?
Oh my god, this is great.
Things are going down.
This studio is the trap. This is actually a sacrificial altar.
Yeah, this is no
this right
this is
here.
no te-
there
yeah.
we go.
This is no temple. This is no temple. Blood is running.
Finish him. But what was I even that just I loved
I passed out. What did I say?
I completely but yeah. So Prince Puma is the hometown boy.
Well, then we get to our next boy.
What the hell was I gonna say? I was gonna say
He
something.
saved her. He saved Evil
Oh
Lisa.
yeah, that's what it was. Thank you,
Just in the
Jared.
nick of
Thank you,
time.
Jared.
In the eye.
But
He
Matt
saved her.
Stryker, she's still standing.
He saved her. It wasn't like the White Knight like swooping in to save the damsel in distress. Like he was just
He just ran in, kicked him in the face, and was like, "Come with me."
yeah, he was just saving someone that was about to get like legit murdered.
Yeah.
So he's Prince Puma's a good guy. He's a
Yeah.
stand-up guy.
Yeah.
But the real highlight
Yeah.
is the return of Cero Miedo, Pentagon
Pentagon
Jr.
Jr.
He hits Mil Muertes from behind with a backstabber, and with the entire support of the whole Lucha Underground temple, proceeds to break Mil Muertes' arm.
Yeah.
I mean, I did not think...
Good sell.
I thought that was going to be a tease. I didn't think he was going to break Mil Muertes' arm at
Or
the
like
end
that'd
of...
be where the episode ends.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see you next week.
Like it freeze
right
frame.
before he's
Freeze
about
frame.
to
Like,
fall. Yeah. What did you guys think of this moment?
Well, I knew that Mil wasn't going to lose to Evilise because he has the layer. I was like,
Sure.
they didn't spend all this money on
You
this
can't get rid of
badass
the layer. You
Yeah.
can't get rid of the skull
to have this
chair
guy lose
after episode
the
1.
title.
but it would be
first
cool to
episode.
see her sit there for a few episodes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I the guns here. I can't believe he's gonna break his arm already. Well, how's he gonna be on TV next week if he has a broken arm?
Right.
Type thing.
Right?
1,000 deaths. Does that mean like an arm counts as like 1/10?
Right? Like,
will his arm just heal?
what kind of healing factor are
Yeah.
we
He's gonna
factoring
heal.
in here?
He's gonna heal quickly.
I love that when he rolled out of the ring and he's like holding his arm. The cameraman went to get like a close up and he just fucking
kicks it.
Kicks
Kicks the
camera's doing here?
Kick the camera.
Yeah, just mafia kick. Camera, right there. Get out of Mil Muertes' face, guys. That's the lesson here. But we see Pentagon, and I love what I love about Pentagon is that he never acts any differently. He's essentially their Austin, basically.
He's the boogeyman.
Yeah, he's the boogeyman, exactly. Coming to get you. But he acts no differently. He'll attack anyone if it fits his agenda, and that crowd is going to love him for it.
Yeah.
And he looks so badass.
Exactly.
Dude, he looks so badass.
Just like, yeah, he's a ninja skeleton.
Is he the one with the wings? Like can have
No,
wings?
No, that's
God
Drago.
Damn it.
Yeah, we'll get to him.
Did you guys see Vampiro's face when he came out and started wrecking house?
Yeah. We saw and I think and we'll get to this, but yeah, those meds are gonna come into play.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he hung on to him.
Right.
I was expecting him to look at him and throw
toss
him
him.
out and you see
Oh, that'll happen.
the wheel spin
That-
as it knocks it away. Or
That'll
something.
happen, yeah. But so yeah, we've got so much happening. And I love that Lucha Underground has mid credits and post credit scenes. We see Dario Cueto and Black Lotus once again, wherever they are. Where in the world is Dario Cueto? They've got those three guys that they've lured to what they're saying is the temple, and I love that the mask is drawn in chalk.
Head.
That's
Bam.
legitimate.
He ate a
At the beginning of the main event, they abduct Son of Havoc and Angelico, and I
Yeah.
just love that's all that they were there
I
for.
want to call him the Foot.
They came out. They're the Foot Clan. Yeah. They came out, abducted them, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it was weird that that's the way that they even the odds.
Yeah.
This sort of evil authority power couple. That's how they even the odds by summoning skeletons.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
To get out of fantasy mode. I
Sure.
don't want to kill the vibe.
No, not at all.
Now this show's not live. It's edited. It's edited.
Right.
But it looks pretty seamless.
Right.
How much are we seeing? Do you think there's any chances that during a match, if there's a botched finish or like they're going back and cleaning that up.
There's not actually.
Because I've been to tapings. Have you been? To
I just went to a taping,
Yeah.
my very first taping a couple weeks ago. No, that's the thing. Like we're trained to not do any second takes.
Yeah.
And so if there's, I mean, they might do that with promos.
Yeah.
But not with matches.
Guaranteed promos.
Yeah. But I mean, what a phenomenal season premiere. So let's get to some mother effing predictions.
You love this
man.
now. He's like so happy that he could finally do predictions during shows.
AfterBuzz TV.
Love it.
Yes.
All right. My prediction, it's got to be Vampiro is going off his meds. We're going to see the return of that Black Pope Dark Master. I got to think that he's going to go off of those meds.
But when he does go off those meds and becomes that Dark Master again, is it going to be like as a tag team with Pentagon Jr.? Is it going to be to battle Mil Muertes? What is it going to be? Like that's what I don't know. It's because like when he came out and fought Pentagon and then is like, no, I'm your master. I was like, oh, okay. And then like this whole like oh, Ian's at the table doing commentary.
Right.
That's not Vampiro.
Right.
Kind of like difference in character.
Right.
So I'm wondering, like when he's gonna snap back into being Vampiro, and then what's he gonna do? Is he gonna want to go for the title? Is he gonna want to take out Pentagon and
yeah, that's the thing. You
like,
got to think if he does go off of these antipsychotics, he's gonna be hostile. He's gonna be volatile. Maybe he does turn on Pentagon, and we see the second of their bloodbath.
They'll go Johnny Bananas on him.
Exactly. Yes.
We bring it back.
Mortal Kombat. What was the other one? Entourage.
Oh, it's everything.
And
Turtles.
Yeah. It's
Goonies.
I was like, I don't remember Johnny Bananas in Mortal Kombat.
No, Goonies. That's what it was. It's Mortal Kombat, Entourage, Goonies. That's what we're talking about.
I'm hoping Ivelisse. I really think she's gonna. I hope she wins. I want her to win the Gift of the Gods championship.
Okay.
So I don't know what her. I'm kind of going like a throwback wrestling here, but I hope she kind of gets to. Who am I looking at here? King Cuerno.
Okay.
I hope somehow she, because I feel like she's made a deal with one side, and I'm kind of because I'd like to see her. I fell in love with her character this episode, and I love her. She got a great look. She's the leader. She's an alpha, and so I'd like to see her stay up there. So it's more of a hopeful prediction, but I don't want to see this just be like, oh look, we gave her a shot the first episode,
and now we can
she's just gonna
shuffle
be
her back. Yeah.
So I'd like to see her be like just stay in the upper echelon for a few episodes or bulk of the season. So hoping.
Jimbo, what do you think?
I wonder if she is gonna end up facing Katrina, because Katrina can wrestle. And
Yeah.
she hasn't wrestled in Lucha Underground yet.
No,
but like she can wrestle. So I wonder if that's a thing they're building to.
Ooh, that could be.
My big predictions have more to deal with like who we've seen in the teasers.
Okay.
So we know a great man of mystery is going to show up at some point. I wonder who he's going to go against. Because I'm hoping it's not just going to be like him against Mill right away.
Right. They're going to lead. They're going to tease that.
I'm hoping to see like him and Prince Puma and him and Pentagon Jr. and like him build his way up the card.
John Nike.
Sure. Exactly.
Peter Reebok.
I'm just hoping for
I like it.
A lot of more like I know in the teaser there was like this awesome nunchuck fight.
Oh sure.
Like
on
Johnny
the sunset,
Mundo,
right?
Johnny Mundo, Dragon, and like someone else all
that-
fighting with nunchucks. I was like,
in
can't
that
wait to see
teaser,
that.
we see clips of Rey Mysterio. We see clips of PJ Black. The Darewolf himself. I mean, we see all sorts of people that haven't even debuted yet.
Tugboat.
So we've got tons.
Shockmaster.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Willie Mack has a big part in this season also.
Right. I'm hoping.
And like any other like local or guys we've known or worked with through the years that are finally getting their opportunity to shine. And it makes me wonder like if Lucha Underground and like the success of that is what WSX could have been.
That's
had
exactly
it been
right.
Backed the right way.
That's 100% what I thought of when Lucha Underground first started, and why I was initially kind of hesitant to give it a chance. I was like, it's just going to be another WSX. It's just going to be another Lucha Libre USA. No slight to those shows, but they didn't get wrestling the way that Lucha Underground does,
Yeah. They were trying to make, like you said earlier, like this is a show involving wrestling. Like they were just trying to make shows that, oh, it's a wrestling show.
Right.
We'll get wrestling fans. And then when they cut out, 15 minutes of a 20-minute match and come back from commercials.
Exactly.
Things aren't making sense, and it confuses the viewers.
I
That's
think,
why they weren't
yeah, and
successful.
especially with WSX.
That's a great point.
I thought one of the main issues with WSX is that they were like, oh, people like wrestling, but they also kind of like Fight Club. Let's do both of those things. But it's like, oh, like, you gotta have other elements too, you know?
Like in Full House when Michelle had to get the badge and she just mixes things together.
A Full House reference.
Like she's like,
Goonies,
she's like,
Full House.
Guys,
We're making a list. Make a
cross
list.
off your reference
tuna
bingo
fish ice
card.
cream, that'll be great, right? I love tuna fish and ice cream.
Jimbo made a great point about the commercials. Like, this is the only wrestling show that I know that doesn't cut in the middle of a match.
Right.
And so
right.
I no slight.
it's
That's
taped.
the style. That's just not. It's no slight to anyone else. That's the style that they do. But for so long, that was what you did.
Right.
You showed the match, and then they got away from it, and then now they're kind of bringing it back. Like, no, we're not cutting this. That's like cutting in the middle of Dario like talking to the guys on the street.
Right,
He goes,
right,
"Oh,
right,
Let's
yeah.
see what he says. No, they cut perfectly. Everything is done so well. Like this acts of a play. It's
Sure.
really good.
So obviously some amazing stuff,
Yeah.
guys. What a season premiere. We're going to be right back here the same exact time next week for season 2, episode 2. But for now, guys, tell them who you are, where they can find you, what they want, what you want them to see.
Hi, see this? This is a documentary I made. If you like wrestling, which you probably do if you're watching this show, go on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at @TheJimboSlice and buy my documentary. You buy it from me, I'll send it signed with an 8x10, or you can buy it on highspots.com.
It's such a good movie, guys.
Yeah,
I just
check it
watched it a
out.
couple weeks ago. Phenomenal documentary. Young Bucks, great friends of ours. Easily one of, if not the best tag team on the planet right now.
For sure.
And I mean, just down-to-earth, real family men, which that movie gets right to the crux of. It's phenomenal. What about you, guys?
Agreed. It's at Gilkerson Radio on Twitter, and stay tuned for AfterBuzz. It's very close to starting, but I'll be starting a boxing show AfterBuzz here. So
we go.
the fight game is
Combat
building here. We
sports,
got
guys.
wrestling, boxing, UFC, we got everything. So that'll be launching soon. So I'll let you guys know about that. But until then, more Evilise talk.
There you go. And guys, as always, you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. Make sure to watch Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, 4 p.m. Saturdays, U2 America and KDOC. And check me out all over AfterBuzz. I'm doing Second Chance on Sundays, Raw and the Magicians on Mondays, Pitch Slapped on Tuesdays, and Lucha Underground right here on Thursdays for the entirety of Season 2. So until next week, guys, later.
See ya.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.